Hi Rosa, how are you? We're going to try to make this once more. I didn't really like the other one that much because I darkened my face too much. Your face should be as a child. There are several different kinds of foundations, and as a child, you wouldn't wear a dark Auguste color to your face. It should be light and pale in color to give you a youthful look. The darker it is, the older you'll look. And the point was, I put dark rouge on and dark foundation powder, which made me look older and didn't get my point across. As I said, everything should be laid out before. You can see the table, and everything is laid out with everything that you need, so you're not running around getting something else. Um, I have baby wipes. I have, of course, put the makeup on the top of my hand. I have warmed it up by using my cosmetic thumbs or fingers. The black is here if you were to use the large one. If you were to apply the yellow I had talked earlier about, you would be using this one. And if you were applying the white around the eye, you would be using this one. Or you would use the teardrop. The main point is you're having trouble outlining. And outlining is the most important part. Use your pencil. This is the one with the star on the end, and the opposite one, see there's a star. The opposite end is the pen. And you're going to remember that whenever you're using it, make sure there's no excessive powder, because as soon as you clog up the tip of this thing, it's totally useless and it's hard to recover. You're going to take the cap, it's the size that we're talking about. You've warmed up your white makeup, rub it on it so you've made a nice outline. Look where your real eyelash is, go to the beginning of it, and make a circle. Go to the opposite side. Now, if you've stayed where your real eyebrow is, you should have no problem at all. It should be exactly symmetrical, in line in everything. If you found that your eye is too far down, then you're going to want to go above the eye. But we're going to stay on the arch that we have already. We're going to set that. I have my kabuki bamboo brush. And that'll give you your outline. So you won't have to go back and re-outline it. Make sure you clean off your cap by just putting it on the baby wipe and cleaning it. Then go back and fill it in. And remember what I said, the best part of this is you don't have to, if you were using your oil makeup, you'd have to go back and set this. Because we're using the pen, we don't have to. And even though we made a complete circle with the white, don't worry about going over it because it's not going to affect it. Now remember, we are trying to do this young lady's eyebrow. And what she has first is she has a bottom looping. What we're going to do is start from the top. Go to the opposite side.
Speaking of social media, pro-Palestinian activists are hitting Facebook where it hurts. They're trying to target the social media giant by giving it one-star reviews in the Apple and Google app stores to protest what they claim is Facebook's censorship of Palestinian accounts and posts. Let's go ahead and bring in NBC News tech investigations editor Olivia Salong. Olivia, thanks for being with us. The strategy, it frankly seems to be working. I mean, I looked at...
And what you should see is that it created that slope effect. We also wanted to make sure that it went upward. If we went down, what happens is you lack the movement. What I did was I stayed with my natural eyebrow. You have yours. Now don't worry about how thick your eyebrow is right now. Your real eyebrow is going to make this real thick looking. What we're going to do is, after we like the way this looks, and we see that it's the same thickness.
And how is Facebook responding to all of this, Olivia?
Check to see how far out they are. Are they about the same distance? Usually, the distance from the tip of the finger to the first knuckle should be on both sides. Make sure you put the cap back on, because the longer this is in the air, the sooner it dries out. You want to take your zero pen brush, and you're going to load it. Remember not to put too much at the base of it, and you're slowly adding it and rolling your brush to make sure that you're getting a fine point. You're going to go back and do a fine line. Stay off of the black. If you accidentally make it bigger than you need, you go back with your wet this, go back and slightly make it thinner. And then you've outlined it. You like the way it looks? Set it. Remember not to dust it over your makeup. Now remember, you have to have that little dip here, or you miss part of the personality of the eyebrow. You can see this side has slightly more of a dip than this side. And I believe that happened because this eyebrow is slightly down. So it should have been slightly up a little more.
Yeah, this is really interesting because the voters have a totally different view than their officials, the kind of Democratic
Now,
Party strategists and polls. There was
we
just
can put the white on.
in California, Berkeley, that showed by a 48 to 29% margins. It's almost double among Democratic voters, but they actually want another option. So the voters say they would like more Democrats on the ballots, but the officials say that it's not a good idea strategically at the moment. And basically, what they're concerned about is you could split the Democratic vote if this happened. And this did actually happen the last time there was a recall in 2003. The lieutenant governor got in the race. He explicitly ran on a call of being an insurance policy. His slogan was "Vote no on the recall, yes on Bustamante." That was his name. But if you're confused, so were a lot of California voters at the time. And the governor lost, and a Republican, Arnold Schwarzenegger, won. So a lot of Democrats today still remember that, and they don't want to repeat that.
High drama there in California politics. Alex Seitzwald for us. Thank you so much, Alex. We appreciate you bringing us all that.
Thanks, Morgan.
It's the election audit that never ends. Ballot counting.
Try not to get it into the black eyebrow that you just did.
NBC News political reporter Vaughn Hilliard joins me now. Vaughn, okay, let's go big picture here because I feel like a lot of people can get lost in the weeds here. So number one, why is this recount so?
And the reason why you're putting the white there is because you want to have a base to put your eyeshadow on. There are a lot of people that don't even do this white. They just put the color there. Q-tip?
So it's very easy to get lost in the weeds because right now, that's what they are. They're nothing but weeds. You ask the question, what is this delay? Well, this is the Arizona State Senate who called on contractors, hired contractors, after they subpoenaed those counting 2.1 million ballots to conduct this so-called audit. Well, there are things like high school graduations this last week that had the building already preoccupied and in use. So they had to put on hold this counting, this so-called audit, in wait for today, in which they have begun that process again. They are only 25% of the way through in their process, they say at this time, Morgan.
Which is interesting because, Vaughn, this audit has been the butt of a lot of jokes. It's been really controversial, but now there's this possible lawsuit against the Arizona State Senate. So why?
Because this is real, and I think we roll our eyes, shake our heads at a lot of this, 7 months after the election ending. But there is a threat of a lawsuit from the Maricopa County Board of Supervisors to the state senate and those contractors because over the course of these last 3 weeks, there's been suggestions by these contractors and by the so-called audit, the folks running it, that there have been improprieties on the part of the county, even like suggesting that voter databases were deleted. But that is not actually the case. That's not true. That's not real. And I want to let you hear from Clint Hickman. He's one of those supervisors on the Maricopa County Board who is a part of that letter to the state. And what's interesting to note is he voted for President Trump back in November. He was at his very last rally in Arizona. But you'll hear from him frustration because of the push of this big lie, if you may. Take a listen. To see their facility have graduations and they pick up and move the ballots to somewhere, then they bring them back, and then the machinery leaves, and I don't know if we even see the machinery on camera anymore. It's just trouble. It's just not the way the county does business for its citizens.
Once you like the white where it is, you want to set it.
There are serious questions as to who is funding this and who is actually these audit folks that are running the show and the ones supposedly counting these ballots. Hickman told me, he said, this is a bridge.
You should feel that it's dry, but if you patted it enough, it should have felt almost you'll notice after years of experience that when you're patting something enough that it doesn't have the same tackiness that you started with. Also, if you've done it right, you're also going to find that it is not, it's not going to crack on you. the reason why most makeups crack is because you've got too much on. Also, you've taken too long to set it. Now, I know you don't like yellow and certain colors, but as I said the other day to you, you really should be willing to try different combinations. When I did the original one, I did a combination of colors. I put blues here, yellows here, and pinks. Today, I'm going to try it with a glitter. This is a pink glitter. That little container is $8, by the way.
The move catching the attention of LeBron James and former First Lady Michelle Obama, who tweeted, "Keep shining, we're rooting for you." Despite some struggles later on the uneven bars, the 24-year-old Olympian placed first overall, successfully defending her GK US Classic all-around title. But while it was a return to the podium for Biles, for 32-year-old Chelsea Mimmel, it was an inspiring return to the sport. The former world all-around champion and 2008 Olympics Games silver medalist, now mother of two, coming out of retirement after 9 years to perform a pole-twisting Yurchenko on the vault. I just wanted to put that message out to anybody who thought they missed their chance at something. No one should be stopping you. Just don't hold yourself back. Mimmel documenting her comeback on YouTube, working to change the way the world and the sport sees elite gymnasts, including Biles, whose barrier-breaking moves prove women in the sport can peak well beyond their teenage years. She recently talked with Hoda about age. Do you think about your age? Girl, all the time. The kids remind me how old I am every day. And now on the final stretch to the Olympic Games, Simone Biles is already showing the world she is getting ready to soar. Well, the queen has definitely spoken.
Here's your pink. Now I'm going to use this setup. You remember it. Oops. You remember it. And I'm going to use, you can use your regular pats. I'm using the finger press. And now I'm going to take the dark blue, but I could have used the purple. Let's get the purple. Color purple.
NBC News in Washington, the longest-running show in television history. This is Meet the Press.
All I'm doing is taking this .
Good Sunday morning. 9 days. 9 days.
All I'm doing is taking it pressing it.
And 9 days before we have a sense.
That's all I'm doing is to load it. I'm not scraping it out or anything.
Voters say they've had enough and they choose Joe Biden. Thursday's debate probably changed little, which may be a good thing if you're ahead nationally by roughly 9 points, as Biden is right now. But where does this race stand? Here's an easy way to look at it. Let's start with the 2016 election map that President Trump rode to victory. Now, let's assume right now, as the campaigns are assuming, that Joe Biden takes 2 Trump states, where he's been consistently ahead all year, Wisconsin and Michigan. Throw in Nebraska's 2nd congressional district, as Nebraska
This is the roll-on purple.
if that happens, it leaves President Trump
Load
with
it.
this path. He could not afford to
Hold your
lose
head up.
any of the following states: Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, or Arizona. Right now, he's trailing in all 4 right now, but they are close. But again, if he loses any one of them, it's game over. Remember, this also assumes that Mr. Trump hangs on to Ohio and to Iowa and to Georgia and to Texas, all of which right now, neck and neck. And if Mr. Trump was searching for an October surprise, he did get it, but it may not be the one he was looking for. We're now well into a frightening record 3rd surge in COVID cases that has just hit Vice President Pence's staff very hard, just as Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden are making their closing arguments.
The people of Wisconsin must stop these anti-American radicals by giving Joe Biden a thundering defeat. Everybody knows who Donald Trump is. We're going to show who we are. With Joe Biden, you got 47 years of all talk, no action. Oh, we're turning the corner on this. Just said that this week.
Now, even though you've done that, you're going to need to clean up underneath the eye. You can either use the Q-tip to clean,
9 days to go and 60 million votes already cast. Donald Trump and Joe Biden are making their closing argument. Trailing in the poll, President Trump is still searching for a message that will stick.
Joe Biden admitted that he wants to abolish the oil industry. That was in Texas, or he wants it. Pennsylvania.
Hoping to capitalize on this debate exchange.
Would you close down the oil industry?
I would transition from the oil industry, yes. I would transition. It is a big statement because I would stop because the oil industry
It's not banning fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
It's the latest Trump message after weeks of struggling to land on one.
Last night, Biden refused to rule out Putin. In other words, it may take 16, 17, 18. You can't let Biden be president because he's not at the top of his game mentally. Remember he said that? Where's Hunter that we made the t-shirt? It was at number 1. It's not like this.
But the president's attempt to replicate the 2016 victory with an October surprise is falling flat in the midst of a crisis where he is losing the public's trust.
That's all I That's all you germs are.
now that's if you wanted the little touch of yellow. Actually, you might not like it, but it's actually adding to the color that she has. Now, she actually used the pinker purple here.
The West and Midwest overwhelmed with death counts rising.
In my 34 years as a physician, I have never seen so much suffering from a single disease over such a short period of time.
We are reporting 3,800
If the eyebrows have dulled,
for a total of 364, 33 confirmed cases.
take your pen back again. In competition, I always do this anyways.
We're not learning to live. We don't even die with it. Because he's doing nothing.
As the pandemic surges, President Trump appears focused on personal grievances rather than on governance.
Nobody's ever gone through what I've gone through. No president's ever gone through this. No president. Anybody else would have gone to a corner, sat down in the corner of a room, put their thumb in their mouth, and say, "Mommy, mommy, take me home."
Joining me now is Trump campaign senior advisor for
Okay. Now that's just the color. She has stones on the side of her face. We're going to outline the eyes now.
All right. We have lost Corey Lewandowski's audio, so we're actually going to. I'm going to turn to the Biden campaign. We're going to see if we could get that audio back. But I'm going to bring in Deputy Campaign Manager and Communications Director Kate Bedingfield. Kate, my apologies there. Welcome to Meet the Press. In this day and age, live television and the technologies that we're all using these days. So, look, let me start with where you guys are headed in this final stretch. I saw a report on Tuesday that this week the Vice President's going to go to Georgia. Is Georgia that critical to 270 that he should spend the last week of the campaign in Georgia and not in Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Wisconsin? I ask you because you remember 4 years ago some criticism.
Now, for a stage point of view,
Too much on Georgia.
the lines you're seeing are perfect. But up close, you might want them a little thinner. Take your Q-tip and lightly clean them out to make them thinner. The top line,
And of course, Warm Springs, Georgia, named famous by FDR. To recuperate. Let me ask. I'm going to put up a little statistic here. This is just in September 1. The final 4 states, as we've outlined them, Arizona, North Carolina, Florida, Pennsylvania, 4 pretty crucial states. In all but Pennsylvania, President Trump has personally been to those states, campaigned in those states. He's been to North Carolina more than Joe Biden, to Arizona more than Joe Biden, to Florida more than Joe Biden. Only in Pennsylvania has Joe Biden been there more. Are you concerned that your strategy for having a light physical footprint with the 2 nominees, with your 2 nominees, are you at all concerned that this may, that you may regret the lack of physical presence on the ground? About the remark late in the debate about the oil industry, where the former vice president said he wants to transition away from the oil industry. And look, some of these remarks that he has said it before. But let me ask the question to you this way, Kate. If you work in the oil industry, if you believe that fracking has been good for the economy, and you've heard the statements from Joe Biden, long term, Joe Biden doesn't sound like a supporter of those industries. So why shouldn't those folks think, you know what, Donald Trump's going to be more supportive, not Joe Biden? You comfortable with that?
right?
how much focus there's been on COVID, as he sort of said it. Do you think that's the right message to be sending right now? We just had the two highest days yet of new cases in this country, back to back, Friday and Saturday, and the president seemed to be lamenting the coverage of that. Is that the right message you want to send with 9 days to go?
Well, I think the president's messaging should be and continues to be the promises he's made and the promises that he's kept. Whether you care about Middle East peace, which he's been able to do, rebuilding our military or building the strongest economy with the lowest unemployment rates for African Americans, Asian Americans, or Hispanic Americans our country's ever seen. I think that's the closing message. And the closing message is we have an opportunity to set our country forth for the next 4 years for a path that we've been on for the last 4 years. And that includes economic prosperity for everybody, including making sure that our immigration system is one that benefits this country, not other countries. But that's what's really important in the safety and security for people at their homes, their businesses, their places of worship, and standing with the men and women of law enforcement is the message that resonates with everybody across every socioeconomic status in this country.
Now there's your eyes.
Some comments that got leaked out to the Washington Post.
The only thing I haven't done is my lashes.
Fundraiser,
When you put false eyelashes on, or if you have regular eyelashes yourself, all of a sudden it will take this and totally give it definitely a more girlish look.
you do. I can't help some of them. I don't want to help some of them. Does the president really think that Republicans have a better chance at winning the House than they do at holding the Senate?
If you're putting false eyelashes on, you should always do your eyelashes first by doing makeup on them. What it does is it creates what they call a bridge or an edge for the false lashes to attach to.
In helping U.S. Senate candidates around the country be successful. He's helped raise money. He's been a great partnership with Senate Leader Mitch McConnell. They've raised money together, and we feel very, very strongly that we're going to retain our majority in the U.S. Senate.
He said he didn't want to help some of these senators. He took a shot at Susan Collins about 10 days ago. Is that the senator he's referring to?
I don't know, Chuck, but I can tell you this. President Trump is going to be in Maine this afternoon. I'll be joining him up there. He's going to be campaigning in the Maine 2nd Congressional District, a district that he won 4 years ago and could be pivotal in this election cycle. And obviously, this president wants to make sure that in addition to his reelection, we're retaining the majority in the U.S. Senate and we're taking back the House of Representatives.
You were very careful there. Does he want to see Susan Collins reelected?
Well, I think the president wants to see every Republican reelected, regardless of who they are, and if they break with the president on some of the issues. And the reason is the alternative is much worse. Look, if Chuck Schumer becomes the Senate Majority Leader, we're going to have a very different path forward, and we would see less Supreme Court justices nominated. We'd see less federal bench members nominated. So, look, we want a Republican majority to be crystal clear.
I'm going to ask you the same question. What's the one state on election night that's going to tell you more about what's happening in this campaign than any other?
Well, Chuck, I know the last person wouldn't answer the question, but I think Florida is the battleground state. It always has been, always will be. We feel very strongly about where we're positioned right now in Florida. It's an East Coast state. I know they've got some part of their voting next time zone. But I'll tell you what, when Donald Trump wins Florida big on election night, it's going to set the path for the rest of the night.
Now, Florida will be one of the early states we're all able to follow on election night. Corey Lewandowski, Senior Vice President of Campaign,
Thanks, Chuck.
when we come back, President Trump and Republicans are losing suburban voters. Joe Biden and Democrats are struggling with working class whites. I'll talk to two electeds in the front lines of this battle of shifting coalitions. Welcome back. The changing political
Now,
landscape is posing challenges for members
if you happen to be doing your eye
of 3 Senate elections in Ohio surviving.
and the black gets on the bottom, just take your Q-tip
Virginia, Republican Denver Riggleman overcame the challenges of an increasingly blue district.
and wet it,
Won a seat in Congress in 2018.
and try not to touch the eyelash.
Bob Good, who describes himself as a biblical conservative, in part because of Riggleman's support for same-sex marriage. Equal Senator Brown comes from this morning. I want to start with Senator Brown. Senator, we did a deep dive on our undecided voters in the NBC Wall Street Journal poll for the last 9 months. We combined everybody that's told us undecided on the presidential race. So we were able to find out who are these folks. And a third of them are members of union
And that was your mouth. You can see I did with the little cap of the Pro Pencil and outlining it with the white, but make sure that your circles are far enough out. If they're too far in, they disappear. They have to be a perfect circle. And when you outline them just correctly, you can see them from a distance. You can always clean them up with a Q-tip to make as crisp of a straight line as you can. You're going to take your blushes now, and we decided not to do that circle thing, and all we're going to do is just rouge it. Now, like the other day, I ended up putting too dark of a color. So let's start with, instead of using corals, let's go with the pinks. Any one of the pinks. Smile.
You were very aggressive in working with somebody across on the other side of the aisle, trying to get a bipartisan resolution to condemn this wacky QAnon conspiracy that has led to some violent actions by some of these believers. And of course, there's Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican candidate for Congress in Georgia, that's likely to become a member of Congress. Here you've got a large majority of the House to condemn QAnon, and then very quietly this week we saw that the Republican Party has officially endorsed Marjorie Taylor Greene and donated the maximum amount of money that the NRCC can do. What message does that send to the party as a whole when they did that?
So I might as well just piss everybody off. So I think if we're doing this, if we're looking at the spread of misinformation as part of something just to pander to a certain subset of voters, I think we've lost our way. And that's something that I've been talking about. Yes, I agree with most of the policies related to government and growth. A lot of what President Trump has done in this district has been wonderful. We start to actually represent as a party that's part of this anti-Semitic conspiracy theory that believes that there's some kind of pedophilia cabal on the Democratic side of the House.
Now take your opposite end with your cute little stars. She has diamonds.
I guess I scratch my head as a former intelligence officer trying to what are we doing here? Like I said before, these are people that believe Lord of the Rings is a documentary, and the fact that we're trying to appeal to them is just ridiculous.
You still a Republican?
I'll tell you what, I'm a Republican, but I thought a constitutional Republican was. The way the GOP won in Virginia, it's very difficult for me to stay with any party. I believe the duopoly is really, the two-party system is really failing American people right now.
I was in Denver with them, and Republican, as I said, from Charlottesville area.
Now, if you made the pink too harsh, you can just take your white
Up next, will Democrats take the Senate? What's the
and just touch it.
Republicans going on? We even know before January.
If you looked at the other tape I made, you can see from staying with the light pink and everything, it has a very young look.
Will be on control of the Senate. Of course, right now it is 53.
When you go with a harsh foundation,
The Republicans here, meaning Democrats need a decade of 4 seats if President Trump is reelected, or 3 seats if Joe Biden wins vice president race at the top. Earlier this cycle, we had identified 6 Republican senators in jeopardy. Steve Daines in Montana, Cory Gardner in Colorado, Martha McSally in Arizona, Joni Ernst in Iowa, Tom Tillis in North Carolina,
and that just lightened it up a little.
one Democratic incumbent, Doug Jones in Alabama. This matters. We assumed we were going to be dealing with the last 9 days. But look at what this map is. It has had quite a few competitive races. As of right now, you've got Lindsey Graham in South Carolina, both Republican senators in Georgia, David Perdue, Kelly Loeffler. Dan Sullivan in Alaska is in a tight race. In the open Republican seat in Kansas, yes, Kansas, all of them are in some measure of peril. Then our Democrat incumbent Gary Peters in Michigan, he still finds himself in a tougher than expected race despite Joe Biden's strength in Michigan. Finally, on the outsides here, yes, there are more competitive Senate races. John Cornyn in Texas, Mitch McConnell in Kentucky. Look, they're both favored, but they can put their opponents away. Same is true for Democrat Tina Smith in Minnesota. So to be sure,
These are
we're not going to win all of these races, but it's worth keeping in mind that
the little flowers you can have on the side.
most races tend to go all the same.
So she becomes a cute little girl.
Political experts
Of course, with your youthful, pretty face, it's totally different from me. There's your larger flowers on both sides. So, hope it helps you with the eyebrows. You can see how cute it is and how youthful it is just by staying with a lighter foundation. Remember, before you start playing with your costume, remove all this, because we're always tempted to throw a wig on or grab the costume to see what we look like, and then we get all this makeup that we just prevented from getting all over the place, all over ourselves. As I said, when you first look at it, you go, oh, I don't know if I like all that. But you can see that the little bit of yellow really adds, and it's going to pop your costume. Without the yellow in there, you're just pink and purples. You have to have 3 colors, bring out the costume colors in there. Same thing with the lips. By putting the pips exactly in the right place so they stay their shape, if you put them too far in and you smile, they disappear. You put them out in the right place and make them complete circles, they move. Same thing with the nose. Just highlighting that nose totally changes it. I also wanted to show you what it looks like if you're wearing a professional nose. See how the face totally changes just by trying a different nose? Tips. Longer nose. Those are all professional noses. They run for around $20 a piece or something like that. But, of course, then you don't have the comfort of the breathing and everything else that comes with the nose. So anyways, I hope you liked it, Rosa. And I hope it helps you to create a little girl's eyes and her pretty face and her cute little cheeks. Hope everything's great. If I was doing it myself, I would have to have a beauty mark on my chin because I feel I haven't drawn a complete line. That would be me. I have to have this look here, a triangle. Thins the face, but it also makes sure that you're looking at the full face. It's up to you whether they're the stars, the moons, the flowers. It's all up to you. With pretty little girls' eyelashes, you've got that fluttering look and everything. Hope you love it. Hope you understand it. If you have any other needs and anything, just get back to me and let me know. Thank you. Bye.